All right, what's going on, fellas? And so it begins. We are officially starting up the road to a 400 kilo, 880 pound deadlift here. Just finished up this general period of training, just working on general well roundedness and whatnot, letting my back heal up. It's feeling pretty darn good, and the work I've been doing to build the base for the deadlift has already been paying off. So now we're going to start dedicating a little bit more of our training economy to increasing the deadlift. We're not going full dump all of our resources into one thing like we did with the bench press. Still more efforts to remain well-rounded, still progress some of my strongman events, still progress my pressing strength, yada, yada, yada. But we're going to be starting this series up officially. Drag the GoPro along with me to the gym today. It's really nice because it's small. It's a little bit less embarrassing to film with that at the gym. It's really wide pan, so I don't have to put it really far away and get in people's way. I can put it up pretty close to me in the gym, which is quite nice. The mic on it is atrocious, and there's also copyrighted music playing at the gym, so I'm not going to be more of like a vlog style talking to you guys. It's going to be probably mostly voiceovers. If I do something cool, maybe I'll put some music over it or something. But here you can see me warming up with some pause squats, just no belt, no sleeves. Just to get warm for the deadlift. This weight here is 425 pounds for a set of 5. Not particularly heavy, just using this to get warm for the deadlifts. I like to warm up for my deadlift some kind of squat pattern movement until my deadlifts get very, very heavy, in which case I'll either do the squats very light so I'm not pre-fatiguing myself, or I'll just do some bodyweight squats to derive whatever little benefits I can and save as much energy as I can for those heavy pulls, just kind of context dependent. Somewhere off in the background, Max is doing some lighter technical work on his squat that neither him nor I really felt too compelled to film. It's like 50 to 60% for very low reps, mostly just so he can practice the skill of getting a bar onto his back to kind of keep the shoulders and the pecs mobile for his low bar. Mostly that's the main reason he's doing it. He's also doing it to stay synced up with my workout because I squat before I deadlift. I also do a few more sets of everything that Max does as a lighter athlete, so I have to go a little bit quick to keep up pace with Max. But nothing too crazy. It's been going really well training together. We might overdo it a little bit sometimes, but hey, train hard, compete easy. I can honestly say that a lot of our lower body days sometimes are harder than some of the full shows that I've done, which builds a lot of confidence in my ability to make it through a 5, 6, 7 event show and continue performing well all the way through. Here we can see me getting into my first working set on the deadlift. The weight on the bar for the day is 6 plates, 585 pounds. And my scheduled work for the day is 5 sets of 5. While that sounds pretty pedestrian for a deadlifter that has pulled 835, I have a pretty long torso, kind of short arms, and thus my volume tolerance on the deadlift is a bit low. My maximal strength is good, but my ability to bring repeated efforts is probably worse than most. I would say that's pretty common also just for stronger and stronger conventional deadlifters. The more just a set will beat you up. As you can see, the early sets are quite easy, kind of as you would expect them to be relative to my max, but by the end they were getting a bit challenging because it has been a very, very long time since I did 5 repeating efforts, 5 working sets in a row on the deadlift. I've made it 3 or 4 with the use of some variations in singular sessions. I usually like to deadlift twice a week, but this has been a pretty big ask, but it's been going very well. I've been adapting to the workload reasonably well, even if the workout does not look all that impressive on paper. I know the context of what kind of volume markers and what kind of straight set markers led me to my 805, my 815, my 835, and I definitely find how this has gone so far to be very promising. Max is kind of finishing up his volume rehab phase. He hit 3 sets of 8 today at 525 pounds. Again, relative to his max, not all that much, but in his case, it was more to try to build his work capacity back up because he's very much specialized into singles on the deadlift and build up the resilience in his lower back again. As you can see, these looked quite nice, finished strong, didn't pick up any injuries, kind of rehab phase complete. We kind of move into a little bit more traditional strength work for Max's deadlifting from the floor starting next week. So heavier weights coming soon. You can also just see how much bigger than me Max is there. I believe this is set 4 of mine. They were going pretty well. I've been working on using a bit of a variable look point where I look at a fixed point on the floor ahead of me up until the knee, and then I allow my eyes to rise after that point till I'm looking straight ahead. And that's been working quite well. Been working a bit on my brace. I can just feel all of the little changes I've made to my assistance work to be like deadlift friendly are paying off. My little bit of extra focus on the lats, because that's something I felt needed to come up to do the 880 pull. I can already feel that showing up in my pull. I feel a lot more sturdy at keeping that weight from swinging forward on me. The work I've been doing for my abs, feeling really strong through the midsection, feeling strong through the low back. Everything is like kind of working as intended, which is always really nice when you put together a plan. You know, you have your specific training, which is, okay, well, how much deadlifting are we going to do? How many times a week? At what load? How much volume? That kind of thing. That's probably the most important thing. And then second comes like, hey, how do we break that up in terms of variation that highlights technical or physical weaknesses, emphasizes certain ranges of motion or our ability to preserve our technique in certain spots, or that kind of stuff. Using variations is probably the next most important thing. But then we also kind of build a little bit of an underlying program of our bodybuilding work, building our suit of armor, right? We imagine what a big deadlifter has. We do a little bit of bodybuilding work to try to become a little bit closer to that big deadlifter we imagine. For me, that's been a lot of rowing, a lot of chin-ups, some direct abdominal work I find to be quite helpful. You'll hear that's something that's, I don't think there's a definitive answer. Some people will swear heavy compounds are enough for your midsection, and some people will swear that a little bit of direct midsection work goes a long way, whether that's because of strength, whether that's because of hypertrophy, whether that's going to be like general work capacity of the midsection, which I think is probably an underrated quality, or whether it's kind of an intramuscular coordination thing, is just running more force through our midsection gets us better at running force through the midsection, so we're able to transfer force from our legs to a bar more efficiently. Who knows what it is? You look at some athletes, they find a ton of value in it, some don't, which means, in my opinion, if we see high performers going either way, people that have trained for a long time and are quite advanced going either way, after doing some rigorous experimentation on themselves, I think it falls into the category of, hey, you just have to try it and see if it has a positive impact. And then if it does have a positive impact, you got to stick with it, right? If you did observe that objectively based on your trial that you ran, don't give up, stick with it. It probably is something you should be keeping in there if you're one of those people for whom it is helpful. On the other hand, if it really makes no difference and you feel it has no impact on the rate of your low back getting banged up or feeling sore, and you don't really see why it's a good use of time in the gym, absolutely, you can stick to that. There are high performers that tend to agree with you, and I don't really mind either way as long as someone is rigorous with their own kind of experimentation. They try to control for their variables reasonably well. As long as they're not just like using a bias to come to their conclusion, I'm all good with it. Like I said, the stuff that people find the most interesting, the assistance work, even though it's maybe the third tier in that hierarchy of importance when we're designing a training program, damn, it feels nice to select motions that you can feel when you're doing them. I can always feel when I'm bench pressing if I have dumbbell bench in the program. My power off the chest just feels a little bit better, and my control of my negatives on heavy benches always feels a little bit better. And I've got a bunch of motions like that. I can feel when I'm rowing, and I can feel when I'm not rowing when I go to deadlift. So maybe we have a couple of exercises, all of which are going to kind of effectively build that muscle, right? You got 4 different hamstring curls. If you have one that you can kind of subjectively feel when you go to deadlift, when you've been doing it, and you're like, oh, this really replicates that position. Well, because we said those 4 exercises were all kind of created equal for this purpose, I would always select the one I feel kind of just makes me feel a little bit more prepared. Whether that's objectively true or not, most of that benefit's realistically just being derived from the primary mover getting bigger. That tends to potentiate future success in training. But that being said, if I feel like something mirrors a position and somehow has a little bit of skill transfer, I'll always select that option. So yeah, we've done rows, we've done chins. The chins, I tweaked my back on pull-ups a while ago, and somehow pull-ups still hurt just a little bit, but chin-ups don't. And I really like chin-ups. I've gotten the mobility back to do a full underhand grip on the bar. I really like the strength curve, because when I do pull-ups, the strength curve feels a little jarring. It feels comically easy for the bottom half and rather difficult for the top half. Maybe because my biceps are not particularly strong, but I never really liked that. And I do like that the chin-up feels like it kind of evens out that strength curve a little bit. Feels like I get a better stretch on my lats. All around, good stuff. I definitely felt like the lats are something that need to come up. I don't think my traps need to be particularly bigger or stronger. to deadlift the 880. I don't think that's of huge importance. Directly training my midsection, seeing some progression there, I think is something that I'm going to need to keep on top of. Keeping my low back strong with pause deadlifts, RDLs, and these back extensions, certainly something that I'm going to need to keep an eye on. No secret, the low back is relatively important to the deadlift. These have been getting me a little bit of extra glute volume. My glutes get regularly sore from the walking lunges I do on my squat day, but if we're talking a little bit more deadlift specific of like squeezing through and locking out a deadlift, my hope is that these back extensions, and I'm going to be doing more and more back extensions off of the glute ham raise, because I find that the 45-degree back extension emphasizes the hamstrings a little bit more, and the glute ham raise back extension emphasizes the glutes a little bit more. So I'm going to be doing a bit of both. Glutes are getting stronger from the lunges, squats, deadlifts, all those basic things, and then a little bit of extra hinging volume here on the back extension. As well as my gym is getting an adductor abductor machine, which I'm very excited for. Here, I thought Max was just... I thought he was just fucking around here, but it turns out he couldn't figure out how to get his other arm back around the weights. So he was just standing with it, and he was waiting for me to come help, and I had no idea that he could not just put this down himself. So I was like, oh, yeah, flex for the camera. And then he was like, are you going to help me get this off? And I was like, what? So I had to run over and help him there. But yeah, we're doing these. We're like reinforcing the hamstrings, really building those up with a lot of sets of hamstring curls per week, and then followed by this hip extension. I like doing the hamstring curls before the hip extension because it lets me get away with using less weight, right? Generally just a helpful fatigue management strategy for me. Me and Max have been going crazy on our hamstring curls, putting in a ton of work on those, seeing really good progress with time. Really liking these back extensions. Keen to get into doing more of them off the glute ham raise because that also works quite well for me. What else do I have to say? As you can see, Max is cheating and doing less range of motion than me, but I still beat him on these, I believe. I think I got like 12 reps on my final set. I don't think he got 12. So I think I beat him here. Max and I ended up taking a little bit of a different loading strategy for our hamstring curls. Max wanted to do a heavy top set with kind of dropping sets for his 3 sets. So I think he hit whatever on the stack for his top set, dropped it like 3 to 4 pins, did his second set, dropped it 3 to 4 pins, did his third set. I had opted for more of a repeating sets thing. That was me trying to catch Max on video lying on the ground from his back pump, but he popped up and played it off real smooth when he saw the camera coming out. I opted for more of a straight sets approach, and actually I made so much progress from last week, I was able to do 3 consecutive ramping sets while maxing out my target rep range. So those are progressing really, really smoothly, which I don't expect to carry over directly to my deadlift, but generally bigger hamstrings makes deadlift strength training go a little bit smoother. It kind of smooths things out to have a little bit of a surplus of muscle past what your specific training does for you. We did these here. I used to do a lot of these off because we had a glute ham raise at my college gym. And I used to do a ton of these, and I found them wildly helpful for my lifts. And I got away from them simply because they are not very fun and they are pretty hard. They're not something you can show off. They don't seem cool, but I've always said that the back extension is to the strength athlete what the curl is to the gym bro. It's always a good idea, whether it's active recovery. Oh, here's me recovering from my low back pump today. Whether it's for active recovery, whether it's for hypertrophy, whether it's for some amount of strength, whether you're hitting holds and pauses at the top of each rep for some isometric back strength, whether it's more you're locking your rib cage down, trying to glute bias, whether we're kind of extending the rib cage, the spine, and trying to make them hamstring bias. There's a reason that so many Russian and other Eastern Bloc country lifters do minimal assistance work, but there's a commonality in the fact that frickin' all of them do back extensions. It is just a wonderful, wonderful cornerstone, whether it's for warming up, whether it's for doing it after the sets. It's a very, very helpful tool for any kind of strength athlete. I am a huge fan of them, even though they're not very fun. And then here is my hanging knee raises with a dumbbell between the feet. I find them a little bit easier to consistently overload if I hold a dumbbell between my feet and do a knee raise variation rather than a leg raise variation with my legs straighter. Strength curve feels nicer, smoother progression. I like them.